Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. My car getter today, he was part of the rich name. Yeah. No. Yeah, look around here.
Thank you. Yeah. I know, like,
That's good. Hey, I need a car. You get your chair there. There. Rico, I'm gonna sign you up, okay? I know you're in. Yeah, you're in too. Yep. That's the one.
I don't know. Lisa, you and I will know.
So that- Sweet Martha. Never gets off. Signing up. Sorry, guys. You gotta shut up. Shut up, right on. Oh, there's a job here. It's yeah, how many do you get taught? Oh, yeah. How many involved with us? 3-on-3 tournament? Better sure. Yeah. All right, y'all. Welcome. We are going to get moving, get started. And the love. We are going to get moving. I'm here to keep me in the line, so this is going to be crazy. And so you're right. I heard it loud and clear. It said that I'm open. All right. Welcome, you guys. Glad you're here. We're going to keep this battle. Wow. That was weird. Victoria, you're the winner. All right, guys. I'm glad y'all are here. We're going to jump in. We got a busy day today. I don't know if you guys noticed. We have the infamous Todd Haig in the building today. Todd is going to be going over the numbers, and we're going to be talking about some of the stuff that we talked about in the reunion, and some of Gary's numbers, and then some of the others. Good to see you. Welcome. Going right to Gratitude, you know, I love saying it, so what's your gratitude?
I'm very grateful for the foundation I built with my family. It's as strong today as it's ever been.
Our legacy, oftentimes our family.
I am thankful for all the agents that showed up to my class today and were willing to role play dialogue.
Woo.
And feel a little uncomfortable doing it.
Yeah.
That helps with the growth, so.
I'm grateful for everyone that's.
We have 14 signups so far. Yeah, okay.
It goes on there.
We was on there, and walked in, we're gonna sign down contest. Right, he's good.
Interesting.
14, we need 5, 1, next Thursday, afternoon, next Friday afternoon, Monday. Bought a portable basketball hoop and basketball. So we're gonna fill it up with water, put it out back. We'll have some ground beers, some wine. One more, who's in? Don? Who's in? Don? I need one more.
Sure.
You know, know where to find me, but one more, I need one of the teams. You wanna play basketball with them?
Next up, we have volleyball, there's interest in volleyball next.
Summer
volleyball.
There you go, like, there used to be,
Again.
down at, what was that, Center, they used to have, leagues there. Now, I don't even know if it's even there anymore. Yeah. Yeah, I've already been volleyball court. Building has some insurance, do that, If you break everything on, then you're on, here's an indemnity agreement. All right, guys, I'm grateful for everybody coming up, showing up today, making it happen. Let's go ahead and move on. All right. Come on down. Also brought us down today, and so I'm excited about that. So here you are, brother.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes. Chad, just a quick thought. Make sure you realize this isn't a March Madness pool. Okay, Peter Hiller signed up thinking that he was signing up.
He doesn't know he's playing. Our Spud McKenzie. Travis had no idea what sport it was gonna be. Just so you know, though, I get those two thugs right there, those guys are on my team. I got people, so we'll get started.
All right, so yeah, we have chili after the meeting, homemade chili and Linda promises to get it warm. It was a little cold this morning. So, hey, what I wanted to talk to you about this morning, guys, is down payments there's crazy money out there right now. We have just gotten one person approved. If I take you to this green area right here, 25%, up to 25% of the sales price. We have just gotten approved yesterday, $75,000 for an individual. They're gonna match that with some additional funds. They're gonna get about $105,000 of forgivable down payment assistance. Okay, this is all forgivable down payment assistance. This is not to be paid back. If they sell the house within 5 years, yes, they'll have to pay it back. But if they keep the house, they will have these dollars forgiven. So I think it's important if you have anybody that is first-time home buyer, certainly somebody who's a first-generation first-time home buyer. There's really good money out there right now. So like I said, up to $92,150, and that's going to be 25% of the, where is it, 372.5. So that's a lot of money, guys. I mean, these people were thinking that they were going to have to find a house in the 180 range. They're now going to be over 300,000. Have those conversations, if you know anybody. There's also, okay, if you don't happen to be first generation, the first time homebuyer program, for this same product, you can get 20 grand, it's interest free, deferred payment, still not a bad deal. You know, someone would borrow me 20,000, maybe match it with Minnesota House, you can get 30 grand. 0% interest, I'll take as much of that as I can get, you know, why not? You gotta pay it back when you sell the house, but I mean, I take as much of that as I can get, so there's that out there as well for the qualifying first-time home buyer, so you do not have to be first generation to get it. This particular program, the cities, just highlight the cities, and I do have flyers on this, that if you want a flyer, co-branded or not, or just want a flyer, social media post, whatever, we can get that done up for you. Thank you, Sean. Shout out to Sean for that. For that particular program, yes. So that particular program is, Arden Hills, Falcon Heights, Gem Lake, Lauderdale, Little Cannon, Maplewood, well, you can read it. You know, the cities are there.
The first time home buyer is still someone that hasn't owned in 3 years, or does it have to be that?
No, first time home buyer, 3 years. And you can get to 20,000. Now, these are leftover funds. We'll talk about it. I mean, these are leftover funds from last year. This program went away and came back about 2 weeks ago. I had one person approved for it already, 2 people in the hopper, 1 person hopefully going in today. The nice thing about this particular program is you can reserve funds up front. Okay, so it's not like you have to cross your fingers and it's all gone by the time you find a house. You can reserve funds up front. We just got our first approval yesterday. Kind of got the golden ticket, now we go shop. So they have 90 days to find a house before it has to go back and get approved. So yeah, if you want to know more about it, you know, come on by, we can talk more about it. Anybody else have questions on this particular quest?
Is that for Gen only or for both those programs or for those particular cities?
Yes, this flyer is this program.
Okay, so either program is for those cities only.
Exactly, exactly. The one to the right is old school Minnesota housing. Minnesota housing, if your loan officers have not told you, they've gone through some big changes. Okay, there's income changes. You know, the income change is a big change. You know, the income is a little bit more restrictive on Minnesota housing. So the dollars that you can get from Minnesota housing is a little less. You can still get 18,000 and you can go on per payment plus. But the income restrictions, you know, the income has gone down just a little bit for Minnesota housing. So same thing there. If you want to flyer on that, I mean, again, these are great. I think social media posts to let people know. You know, that's just old school. You know, anybody who hasn't owned a home in the last 3 years, you know, can go Minnesota housing, the HFA down payment. Any questions on that one? So 2 completely different programs. Regular Minnesota housing, just these cities for this one. And these funds will run out. Okay, Minnesota housing usually almost never runs out. I can't think of any time 20, 30 years that Minnesota housing ever ran out of money. Okay, but this program to the left will run out.
Other first gen money gone then?
Nope. No. Great question. I think we got a flyer on that coming. Let's go. So yeah, so that one is going to be Lisa over here. Okay. First gen program. I mean, that money should be here. Regular first gen should be available. You know, the one up to 32,000 should be available for most of the year. Minnesota housing first gen ran out around December. MMCDC should be around most of the year. Okay. That program now. Plan at least 2 months minimum. MMCDC was 2 weeks. They paused the program, came back. It was 30 days. Now they've come back. It's taking about a month and a half. Once you have your approval through your lender and then you submit it to MMCDC, it's over a month. it's over 30 days. So if they're gonna go in Minnesota or they're gonna go MMCDC first gen, plan on a minimum of 2 months before they go live. You'll have a golden ticket, those funds reserved, pre-approved, ready to go, 90 days, they'll give them that extra 30-day extension. So you'll have the money, so, but they have, it's not a fast process to get the MMCDC. Any questions on MMCDC? That's been around for a while.
First generation question. They can own a house anywhere, like in other countries or just here?
Correct. Correct. You or your parents. So even your parents,
Or if they built their own house, never had a loan,
if they what?
if they like just built the house by themselves. And they never had any type of. loan.
So they built it by
Yeah, like
themselves?
cash. Does that
I would
count?
probably, I can ask that question. My guess would be they own a home. The definition says they can have never owned a home here or in any other city. Doesn't say with mortgage, without mortgage, it says own a home. So my guess, it would be, they would not.
They lost it through foreclosure.
But if they lost it to foreclosure, then they qualify. Our grant that came out last week, we closed our first month here, just last month, last month we closed it. Some of that's not in this room today, but we closed our $7,000 grant. So that's through, we're a member of the Federal Home Loan Bank. So that is money that's given to members of the Federal Home Loan Bank. So we can layer that with anything. So it's not like, hey, you take the Federal Home Loan Bank, you don't get these other programs. Sometimes we can layer it with everything else. So if you qualify for it, we can get it. That money usually runs out around November, December. So we have that available. Right now. Okay, not sure what else we got. Oh, some of our portfolio programs, so we have lots of different portfolio. I can't not mention our portfolio program. So our ITIN program is also, it's a portfolio program. We can do it, hey, if you have a program where you don't want to go FHA and you're 620 or 630 credit score, it might very well fit in our 10% down or 5% down. I'm calling it ITIN, but it's a portfolio program of ours. So, we'll do that all the way down to a 620 credit score, no mortgage insurance. And right now the rate is about 7%, so 7% with no mortgage insurance, probably get you somewhere to the 6.5% range. And we have really, big set of guidelines on that program, along with a lot loan. If you have a fully ready lot that's ready to go, most banks want 20% down, 25% down. We'll do that currently at 10% down with about a 5.25% interest rate. So it's pretty good interest rate on that. It is a 3-year arm, and I want you to build on it after 3 years. It's to buy, not to own for the next 30 years. It's to buy and hopefully build something on it within a 3-year period. So I think that's it, Sean. Oh, and construction, same thing. One-time close new construction, we have that as well. One-time close, and then just draw on those funds to build. So if you have any questions on something like that, like you want to do a new construction, maybe build it yourself, or you have a builder, we got a great one-time close construction. So, questions on anything? Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Here we are, market update. Just gonna hand it over to Tom. All right.
Well, it's good to see everybody, full room here. So, why do you think that we talk about market status? Because we just love to talk about numbers, right? That's it, just plain and simple. Everybody loves to talk about numbers. Now, the whole reason that we talk about stats is so that we give you the best information possible. A lot of this information is already out there. Some of you are following it, some are not, some want to know how to interpret it. So the better we can equip you with conversations, the better conversation you're going to have with your client, right? So, before we jump in though, if I'm looking for, a new client, let's just mastermind for a second. What are some of the things that I could do today that I would potentially get a new lead for a new client? Anybody? Actually, ding, 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 I was thinking the same thing. Could I take to social media with that information, Mark? And put that out on social media, or I could just do a post. Are you interested in down payment assistance? Contact me. Could that generate some business? Absolutely. So social media would be one, okay? And that's just one aspect of social media. Another aspect of social media might be taking a listing and just simply posting about it. It's a great, single level home in Maplewood, under 300,000, that actually exists. Let's go on 400,000. Contact me, maybe that would do. What else could I do?
So cities figure out what we have for listings and put it in an open house and let people coming in know that.
So doing an open house. Last week's podcast was with Gina Ron, on the MRA podcast. And he built $100 million business by having 20 conversations a day. That's basically all. Go out and have 20 conversations a day. Now, is he doing other things besides that? Yes, he's built a team. He's gotten people into production on his team. But when it comes to open houses, he requires his agents to do 50 open houses, to go on his team, 50 open houses. Do you think he would get a lead from that? Easily. It's open houses and
Every day out.
basically, or on the weekend, couldn't you do 2 open houses on Saturday and Sunday, if you timed it out just right? So he talks about a story where he brought a 19-year-old kid onto his team. Kid went to college in Houston, decided that college wasn't for him, but he was one of the very few people that actually read the Millionaire Real Estate book. And then came back to him and said, hey, I've read the book, I'm interested in real estate. Brought this kid onto his team. He has got 4 homes under contract from doing open houses. 3 of them are over $1 million. Now, he happens to be in Minnetonka, Wayzata area of Austin, Texas, that would lead to higher sales prices. But I think a lot of people would have limiting beliefs around a 19-year-old being able to put 4 houses under contract from open houses, much like 3. Okay, what else can I do? So we just talked about conversations, having 20 conversations a day. I was on a training with Gary Keller last week. He said the more conversations you have, the more real estate you will sell. But just finding places that
So, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of detached house, but it's like they come to your house like a house call. My daughter has sore throat, she's 5, and so they came, and it's like an EMT who comes after and whatnot. So we talked and gave her a card, and she gave me all her information. I'm looking to buy, she just started working. I mean, she's been working a while. But anyway.
Yeah, so Gary talked about that in the training last week too. Don't be a secret agent, right? Let everybody know that you come in contact with that you're an agent. And by the way, when they ask you the question, how's the market? That's why we go over the stats, right? So that you can be equipped to go out and have all these real estate conversations and feel confident that you know what you're talking about and exude that confidence to anybody that you happen to be talking to. I would throw in door knocking on top of that. Could you make calls to your database? Do making calls to your database cost anything? No, 20 contacts a day. So what do you say when you call somebody from your database? Hey, you want to sell? Want to buy it? Probably not, but if you came from contribution, hey, do you have any projects this spring you're looking to do on your house? I've got an entire vendor list that I can help you, right? That's coming from contribution. Or Grant, I'd love to get together and have coffee with you. And Grant would say, I don't know that I have coffee, but I have a beer. So perfect. Let's go to wherever. And then I'm going to bring you an equity coffee. So I'm not going to get in depth, but I'm just going to say, look, you're a past client, and when you're home, here's what I think about it. right? I think bring other valuable conversations, to that meeting as well. Yeah, I think so. One would be, by the way, Grant, I'd love to set you up on neighborhood market, which we can do through finance very easily. Forget it. Grant is gonna get updated on a regular basis as far as what real estate activity is happening in his particular neighborhood. Not his community, but the neighborhood that he happens to live in. All right, any other ideas?
You could talk about investing in real estate. Have some.
Exactly. Yeah, to that point, I don't sell, I don't regenerate to sell. But well, actually, 2 weeks ago, I called a couple people and I more investment. You know, some new construction homes that have a low interest rate on them. I've run the numbers, I have really pretty well on these properties. Matter of fact, you can cash flow really well. If you do one change from this property and into this one, knowing that you bought that property 12 years ago for a low price, like $80,000, and it's worth almost $300,000 today. You can just roll that to the new one. So actually, not with them, shut them in new construction. Not only does he want to buy one, but he wants to buy two. He wants to take that one property and roll that equity into those two. So with the 3 properties, that would be north of $1 million in volume. GCI probably around $30,000. Now, I actually have the luxury of having been selling real estate for 31 years and have a past client list that I could do that. Yeah. More people you talk to, better chance that you're going to sell. Right? And if I really wanted to sell, get in contact with someone here, I might actually go to Starbucks, buy $25 gift cards and stand outside and hand them out as people are going inside. Yeah, I could buy your coffee for the $5 gift card. My comment for contribution, is it possible that I could give them my business card at the same time and get into a real estate conversation that may lead to real estate things? So I'm just trying to give you some ideas that you could take this conversation to as well as your point. I don't have a slide on this, but I'm going to show you why I am a realtor and I use it. Rather than artist. And to be a good artist, you need to have a good marker. Okay. Hang with me for a second. Today, it will take 32% of somebody's income to purchase a home. In 2020, that number was 18%. On average, it's 27%. So do we have a problem right now?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So that might be conversation number one, that yes, it's less affordable than it once was. Are there some things that are happening right now that could make homes a little bit more affordable though? I would argue number one, even though we have 1.9 months supply of homes on the market right now, and there are a lot of other areas in the country that have over 4 months supply. A balanced market is 5 to 6 months supply of home. Okay. 4 months doesn't sound like 5 to 6 months because it's not. But I can tell you at 4 months that it feels more like a buyer's market than it does a seller's market. It does not feel balanced at all. So when we get out to 5 or 6 months, there's a whole lot more price reductions going on. Are we seeing price reductions in our market with 1.9 months supply? Could you imagine what that looks like in a market that has month supply? 30% of the homes, 40%, maybe 50% of the homes end up with a price reduction before they sell. We're at 97% of the original price to sale right now. That's pretty strong, right? We have less inventory today only a year. Basically, I'll get into a little bit of that. But there's other things that are happening. Wages are anticipated to go up this year, right? And the last one is the biggest one of all. Well, actually, there's really two reasons why. What's happened on average? Did anybody look at the annual report that came out from the association? Okay, I urge all of you. Actually, SPAR doesn't make it, and you won't be able, everybody's a member of SPAR, right? We're gonna get you the annual report. We'll just email it out to all of you. The annual report goes back to the early 1980s, and it lists how many listings were taken, how many sales had occurred, and what the dollar volume of listings and sales were. It's a pretty interesting report to take a look at. But there's no doubt that inside the annual report that you can see all the communities that are in and around the Twin Cities, the amount that they've got. I'll tell you that number is north of 30% for just about every community in 2020. Okay, so affordability has been hampered because the average sales price has gone up by more than 30%. And then in 2022, pretty much around this time, April, May is when the rates really started to climb. Rates have gone up as well, but rates have now started to fall. So, Rico, can I pick on you for a second? If I asked you how the real estate market was right now, what would you say? I know I'm putting you on the spot. I'm not gonna say it's fantastic. There's a trailer out there. If somebody asks you how the real estate market is, you say, it's fantastic. And here's the reason. Well, here's what's happening. Rates are starting to come down. We might be in an era where the rates continue to come down. There are some price reductions out there. So homes have become a little bit more important. So just as simple as that. Or inventory is starting to climb because it's the spring season right now. And you can look at the charts, and we're going to look at some of the regional charts here in a second, where inventory always rises in Minnesota. Because remember, we take the houses off the market in December for the holidays, and we put them out in the spring. So, right? That's just what we do. Or we just wait until the spring market, and we sell, we don't do it, and there's less inventory in December, which actually might be a good idea. Right? So, anyway, affordability is obviously a challenge. So here are some slides that we took a look at from Family Reunion. And one of the things that we're doing here is just recently, we peaked at 6.1 million units nationwide. By the way, you need to double that number to get to the number of buyer and seller sides. So it's 12.2 million buyer and seller sides in 2021. 2021 was a good year. It was very active, right? The peak year back here at 7.1 million, at 6.8 million, and 6.2 million. By the way, have we added to the population of the United States since then? No. Okay, so now we're down, we dropped from 6.1 to 5 to 4.1 to 4.1, and actually the number was even 4.1, was shy of 4.1 million, but they're just using 4.1 million on here. And it's predicted that we'll have 4.2 million in 2025. Okay. Now, NAR actually says, Dr. Yoon with NAR actually believes that we're going to be more like 4.4, not 4.2. So that's yet to be seen. First couple of months, we've been trending down. But look at that line at 4.1 million. We'd have to go all the way back here to 1995. That's the population of the United States grown since 1990. About 70 million people on the census. Okay? And so 70 million more people puts a lot of pressure on housing. Okay. And so at some point, those numbers need to come back. And look at this right here. So 2016, 5.5, 5.3, 5.3, 5.6. So these years right here, they're just going to say that the average is about 5.5 million units, or 11 million inside. to 1.5 million in the Indies. Okay, so we've obviously gone down quite a bit, but the sustainable level really is at that 5.5 million. So we have a long way to go. And look at this right here. So we go back to 2010, and then it starts to creep up a little bit in 2011, and then about 10% here in 2012, and then it really just runs about 10 years right up to 2021. You could go back here, and it's basically the same thing. So you got 1995, goes on about a 10-year run until 2005, where it peaks out again. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting how history repeated itself? Now, that annual report that I was talking about that we're going to email out to you, this doesn't go back to the early 1980s. And what happened in the early 1980s? I know some of you weren't born yet, but maybe you're historians, even though you're not old enough to. Interest rate? Because we have high inflation. So we just went through a high inflationary period, which caused the Fed to bump up the Fed funds rate at a faster rate than they have in a very long time. Okay, and so I would say that we're very similar to the early 1980s and less like 95 to 2005, or less like whatever 2005 to 2021. So less like those times and more like the last time we had high inflation, okay? And if you look at the annual report, the sales quicker. Now, there's always different dynamics that are going on at a different time, because I can tell you right here, we had a lot of inventory that we needed to burn through, okay? And so now we're in a low inventory environment. And here too, rates weren't high, rates were actually low. Rates are high, inventory is low. So there's some different dynamics with all of that. So we are about to enter a period that Dr. Yoon, chief economist for Keller Williams, Reuben Gonzalez, believe that we should start to see a period of 10-year growth in those numbers and getting back to where we should be in some sustainable sales numbers. Home prices. Okay, we talked about the affordability here. This is a trend line going back to 1990 at 4% appreciation. Okay, and we can see here in 2002, we broke away from that trend line until we got here, and then the market collapsed during the Great Recession. Okay, then we stayed below the trend line for a number of years. So, we're kind of at or below the trend line in 08, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way out until 2020. So remember 2020, we were 18% of the paycheck to purchase a home to 32% today, on average 27%. This is where that shows up. We're 9.9% above where we should be. And we, the numbers are still projected for 2024 on this chart. We're at 408 where we should be, somewhere down in that, whatever, 360 type range on average. But with the excess inventory now nationwide, we are starting to see those numbers pull back. By the way, it's all real estate local. What's happening here, is that the same thing that's happening in Orange County, California? No. Or in Texas? No. It's very, very different. We don't tend to be boom or bust. We're just steady there. We just, we don't have those wild swings of appreciation. So we're faring a lot better in this market than a lot of other markets are. And our affordability is much better than a lot of other markets. So does anybody look at the weekly activity report on a regular basis? So they have affordability index on there, 119 right now. That had been in some of these years back here, that affordability index for the Twin Cities was over 200. Basically what that meant was based on the median salary for the Twin Cities metro region, we had the ability to buy 2 homes. Today, it's at 119. That means that on average, we have the ability to buy 1.19 homes. So I would say that we're affordable, although the affordability is that. So, go get those. Down payment. Right. Thanks. By the way, if anybody has any questions as we're going through this, just let me know. Total market volume, what do we get paid? But doesn't it feel good, no matter how big it is, how small the sale is, doesn't it feel good to get this? Yeah. But on average, we just finished out the 3rd best year ever in terms of volume. So super interesting to look at 2023. Well, 2021 was the best year. 2nd best year was 2022. In 2023, we set the 3rd best year ever, above 05, when we had 7.1 million units versus 2022, we were at like 2023, we're at 4.1 million units. So even at 4.1 million units, we still beat 7.1 million units back here. That's how much the properties have gone up on that 4% average appreciation. Then we set the 3rd best year in 2024, and it's predicted that 2025 will set the 3rd best year in volume as well, and really not that far behind 2022. Okay, does that look like opportunity? Absolutely, yeah. And it is huge, though, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition out there right now than what we've had in the past. So I would say go out and have those realistic conversations and get those opportunities because they're out there. All right, next slide. Mortgage rates. So average, you can see the historical average is right here. From 94 or 90 to 2024, but overall 72 to 2024, we're up here at 7.72. 2025 is anticipated at 6.5%. So I was just having this conversation with Mark this morning. Rates are, hovering in just a little over that 6.5 right now, but we've had some downward momentum with it. So rates are certainly going to help this and bring this closer to that 27%, right? And that will make a big difference. So, and then moving forward out to 2026, they're anticipated to continue coming down. Last September, we saw rates dip down to, Raina and Mark, whether we see 6% on average in September last year, something like that.
Very short.
Way too short. Then a jobs report came out that indicated the economy was very strong and the bonds took back on. Rates just went right with it, and then they stayed up, and obviously that slowed sales down. But as soon as that rates went down that 6%, we started getting very busy. So rates really should not prevent anybody from doing anything, especially as we start to move forward, because there's the opportunity to buy down the rate, do a 3-2-1 buy down, 2-1 buy down. I'm not alone, there's not missing a whole lot of other things that you could do, but there's opportunities to buy down that rate. If I was to throw 1 point at rate today, could I get the 6.5 today? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so 1 point buys your rate down. Could you negotiate that in to some deals today, like that 300 and under in Maplewood? Probably not that deal, but maybe 400 and under in Maplewood, you could do that deal, right? Okay, next slide. Inflation. I don't have the slide in here that shows the relationship between inflation and rates, but let's just say rates are up here and inflation is down here. To go step. They tend to move together, but rates have not come down and inflation has come down. And it's predicted that inflation by 2026, at some point in 2026, we're gonna be at 2%. They have projected 2025 at 2.1 or 2.2, somewhere in that range. By the way, the inflation number comes out tomorrow morning. It's a very important number. So if that comes down, we'll see rates probably come down a little bit as well. So hopefully we're moving in the right direction. Inflation is a very, very big deal. And the last thing that we want right now is for this to happen again. I don't know why they have 7% on this chart, because it actually went to 9.1%. We don't want that to happen again, because that did happen in the early. It had peaked, dropped, and then peaked again. Let's hope that that doesn't happen again.
What's it currently at right now? Like really?
It was 3.3 on the last read, and it's predicted that tomorrow it'd be under 3.
Change it daily.
Yeah. So let's just see what that is. By the way, Nick, how much time do we have?
You know what, it's your market. On you, you have 17 minutes.
Let's take a look at the regional home sales. Remember when I talked about the 5.5 million units nationwide from 2016 to 2020? Well, here in our region, we were hovering around 61,000 sales, roughly. If you were to average that out during all those years, we are sustainable based on our population in the Twin Cities metro, which is now 3.6 or 3.7 million people. When you look at the stats from the association, they're giving you a 16 county metro. The reality of that, the vast majority of listings, the vast majority of the sales happen in the 7 county metro area, because it's just right. However, to get a better look at what's really going on, they look at the 16 county metro area. So this is the 16 county metro area. We are sustainable at that 61,000. So you would double that for the number of sites, which would be 122,000 sites. So it decided to get a little crazy in 2021. We got up to 66,400, which gave us 132,800 sites that were available. And then it dropped 2022 to 53,000, then it dropped to 43,000, and then it was just a tad over. It went up 2.1% next year. It didn't feel like sales units went up last year at all. It felt pretty flat. But again, all real estate is local, so nationally it was flat. We were up slightly, and it's just good to know that. Back here, this is 2005. We were at 61,000 units. Remember, nationally, we had hit 7.1 million during that year. And again, doubling this for the amount of sites that are available. That 61,000 though was inflated. It should have been more like 50,000, where the number should have been. So it took 10 years to get it from there, actually 11 years, from 61,000 back to 61,000. But really, it should have been down here at 50,000. So it didn't take us really that long to get back to that 50,000. Now we should be at 61,000, but we're actually at 45,000. Okay, we should get back to that 61,000 in pretty short order. It's still probably a couple of years before we do that. Here's the good news though. Remember, we looked at the total volume. Well, think about the total volume for our market as well. If we do pick the number on average, you know, again, sustainability at 122,000 sites times the average sales price, that would give you the volume for this market, right? That's what we could get paid on. Single family, townhouse, condo. That does not include new construction, that does not hit MLS, that does not include land sales, that doesn't include commercial. That's just single family, townhouse, condo. So
On that. Correct. If you're trying to verify the price and they are just making and maybe their house is different, special and have you. Would you use a slide of information to help them understand why you're pricing it more appropriately?
So here's how I would answer that question. When you go in to do a market, and if anybody else has any of the documents, please share it. I don't know how many market analysis we've done. I actually worked with a foreclosure investor for a number of years during the real estate recession. So I'm gonna walk into that meeting with just rock solid information. It would be very difficult. Like if somebody said, you're telling me my house is going to sell for 400,000, I think it's really a 450 most, you know? I'm not seeing the comps. I honestly would love to sell your house for more. I just could not find a comp in that range. I can tell you though, that you're in this range. I'm not gonna say, I think you're 400,000. I'm gonna give them a range that maybe you're 275 or 700. You're gonna give them a number of 500, you're gonna sell in a shorter period of time, you could go under 400,000. And I think that we could potentially look at it in the middle. And we would find out if we let that trend. So when you go in to do that market, I would bring some information like this. I would bring the community information, and start with the community report on our website. So just go under statistics and you can pull up that there's what 200 and some communities that they have information that you can talk about average sales price in the community, price per square foot, our sales up or down in the community. Then I'm going to show them the inventory for the week from the weekly activity report. I'm going to show them what's currently happening with Cindy, and I'm going to show them what's happening with listings as well. Because they might be in, I don't know, Oakdale, but they might not only be looking in Oakdale, they may be looking in Woodbury, they may be looking in Woodbury, right? They may not just be focused on. I'm going to use some broader information than just Oakdale, right? And so I'm going to establish to them that I truly understand their home. I'm going to make sure that they understand that I understand their community and also the regional market, what's really going on. And once I've established that I am knowledgeable in the market, when I go to talk about the comps, they already understand that I am knowledgeable in the comps that are at the table aren't comps from, you know, Stillwater if I'm looking at the house. But it has nothing to do, and what, you know, their sisters, brothers, uncles, cousins, plumber told them about the estate market. It has nothing to do with what I'm showing them has a lot to do. Okay, does that make sense? So, yeah, if you got any other questions, I'm happy to answer them after we get done. So regional home sales, next slide, new listings, okay? So this again is from the weekly activity report from the association, okay? And this is 12 weeks worth of activity, And the reason that they illustrate 12 weeks of activity on here is because that is a trend. If it's going one direction or another, that is a trend. So right now, on new listings, over the last 90 days, we are down 0.5%. I can tell you that's not the case in most markets. That's not the case in Dallas or San Antonio or Cape Coral or Palm Beach, all of those. Listings are way, okay? And then when you look at this, like, okay, well, we go back to December, wow, we were up 14%, 18%, 5%. Then right here, this is Christmas, so that's an anomaly, right? It depends on how that actually falls. And then we get into the new year. So 1/4 is the first reporting period, down, okay? Depends on how the holidays fall, something like that. And then we're up 12% to 12.2%, 4%, 7%. Now we get into February and the listings are starting to follow. So the updated numbers are available when they come out on Monday. So since it's Tuesday, we had to prepare this ahead of time. We didn't have 3.2 information that was available yet. So you want to look at that and just see what is happening with new listings. So two, if you're looking at doing market analysis and you're noticing that the listings are actually down for that particular community, there's a lack of listings in that particular neighborhood or the neighborhood surrounding that listing. Again, just be careful how you're giving advice, you know. There's really nothing else available, or wow, all of a sudden you're seeing a number of new listings pop up. Or at this time of year, because we're in this period where listing inventory is increasing, which it always does. So it goes up until the 3rd week of May, it levels off during the summer months, 3rd week of September, it starts to go back. All right, let's look at this. So pending sales, down 3.6% for the 90-day trend. This is what concerns me though. Every single reporting period this year, pending sales are down. So we have not seen the monthly report yet for February. Anybody want to guess what that might look like? I'm just going to take a wild guess. Those sales for in this market are going to be down, which by the way, they were up for January. They were up 7.7% for January. Nationwide, they were down 4.9%. So interesting. All real estate is local. We beat the national numbers. NAR looks at the United States as the West region, the Midwest region, the South region, and the Northeast region. Again, Midwest, just going to be United States. Right? Don't have boomer bust, you know, tons of people that are moving to our area, or moving out of our area, just steady. So we were actually we saw an increase in sales. Now that's from activity that happened when? December, right? And closed in January. Now, January 1st for our market, because every single reporting period is the February numbers once they come up. All right, next slide.
Is this existing and new construction too?
There's new construction in there. They're not putting everything on. All right. So, inventory of homes for sale. So here we are for this last reporting period of 2/22. That shows that we were up slightly in inventory, 0.3%. Again, that is not the case in most areas of the United States. Most areas are actually down, way up in terms of inventory. And I mean, with the exception of Chicago, is actually down. They don't have the type of new construction that will give it. So their numbers are down for Chicago. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that just to see what happens with inventory. You can just see inventory just basically flat. If we go back to November, we were at 9,400. We're at 7,000. I'm gonna take a guess that we're gonna do. Okay, so if you're working with a buyer client, I would say there's a very good chance that you're gonna see continued new inventory coming to the market through the rest of this month, April and May. And then we're gonna kind of hold steady. So we could be setting ourselves up right now for a little bit better rates, with better inventory, with potentially better pricing as well. That story it still has to. This has to be an easy question, no worry.
That there's more inventory November and December, I mean, it's declining. And then it gets flat right now when people are actually looking to start buying.
So, that's an interesting question. So the previous slide showed that pending sales were down. So one thought would be, well, pending sales are up, so we're just eating up the inventory, right? So in my mind, the only thing that it really could be here is that we just don't have inventory coming to the market. Now, we did have a number of weeks, and let's blame it on the weather, that was very cold, right? We had a pretty good cold stretch, you know? Generally speaking, though, we see a slow creep in January. We get past the Super Bowl, we start to see more inventory come. And now we're already into March, and we're just seeing a good uptick there. So, you know, was last week kind of a killer week as well? So, possibly. So let's keep an eye on it. If I had the overall historical inventory chart, you would see that it basically goes like this every year, just kind of climbs and goes back down. I don't know why this year would be any different. And with lower rates, you may start to see more seller inventory come to the market. So if we look at the next slide. Oh, Marty pulled that one out. Do we have another one? No, we don't. So he pulled out a slide. So it went through all the reasons that somebody would want to make a sale. So 3 million marriages, 1.5 million, 50 million jobs. Like this is what happens every 2 years, right? 3 million or something like that. So I'm trying to recall everything. So life happens, and there's a number of reasons why people want to sell, and they just simply haven't been selling for years. They've been staying in their home far longer than what they thought, all creating pent-up demand. Just think how many buyers are out there that have been in a rental far longer than what they want to. And I say that because household formation starts at age 26 on average in the United States. First time purchase is in the mid-30s somewhere, you know. 38. Historically, it's in the whatever 33, 34-year-old range. Well, that pool of household formations has never been bigger, and they want to buy. And there's data out there that suggests that the American dream of owning a home is not dead. People want to buy. They just need to have the right affordability for them to do that. And with rates, I think it's every half a point that rates come down, there's another million buyers that qualify. It's a staggering number, especially when you look at it, that if we have 5.1 million units, or well, actually, let's go back to last year. So there was 4.1 million units that were sold, double that for size. That means that there was 4.1 million buyers, right? And we lower the rates by, you know, 0.5% or 0.25%, and another million buyers qualify. That's 25% of the actual sales that happened last year. That's a big, big number. So we need more inventory. Is there anything that's happening that would cause more inventory to come to the market? There is, and that is one of the largest generations, which is the baby boomers, I saw a chart that shows the amount of inventory that they would release to the market between now and 2030, and each and every year, that number is going up, right? At the same time, the largest generation, which is the millennials, they're now entering their peak buying years. Peak buying years for any generation is that early to mid 40s. Typically, I think oldest millennial now is what, 42, 43, something like that. So they're right there in the peak buying years. Peak buying years, you want to do that step. So all that entry level home, step up to that 5-bedroom, 4-bath. This may be a baby. All right, any questions from all of us? Okay.
I was wondering if you've seen a trend, I don't know if there's a big. In my neighborhood, there are quite a few people who are. Yeah, like they bought, you know, you could tell them.
Yeah, so, Lynn, I just worried about this, we just met with somebody that bought in 2022 and what doesn't.
They bought the house, no inspection, multiple type situation. They borrowed, put windows in, they borrowed to put a new HVAC system in. And yeah, they better live there a couple more years. I don't know, since I had a listing of it where I had to tell them they're not in a position to sell.
Yeah, and so I think some of that, I've heard too that, people made a purchase because they were on a remote work schedule, and now they're being called back. There's a lot of corporations are doing that, the government's doing that as well, so there might be, some of those, sellers that end up hitting with it. It looks like builders are going to ramp up their building activity as well. There's a website that Nick and I follow that shows that all of that inventory in that annual report that you can look at. Minus that one page, important that we're gonna you can see the community, the highest number of new construction sales as a percentage of overall sales. I'll give you an example of that. Corcoran, number one, 75% of their sales. Rogers was number two, 50% of all the sales were new. Then it starts to bump down from there, but there's a number of communities like Elmo, I think it's up. Forest Lake, some of these, yeah, you know exactly, you're gonna see a higher number. I'll tell you, we wouldn't be putting up the numbers that we're putting up here locally if we didn't have. And a lot of those new construction numbers don't even reflect in the MLS data, just because they just never hit the market because of one of the big builders. Right, I feel like you're better equipped after this conversation to have a conversation with anybody. How is the market? So a lot we get into as many conversations as possible. All that is going to do is do. So that's really going to be what can we do to get things going this year. Whether we've got a buyer need, seller need, or an investor, right?
On the Rockstar page, if you go to the Rockstar page, I linked to the FastStats link for the Twin Cities from SPAR. And I'll get, we'll link the other one from Mar later on, if not, just link it in order. If you're not using those guys, if you're not using your association stuff, both local, state, and national links, you're missing out. So if you have an hour and you want to look at different things that you could benefit from them, go on their pages and do a little digging. There's a lot of resources available on the association links, as well as advocacy opportunities, as well as volunteer opportunities. So take a check in. Take a second, figure that out. Mark has a chili in the back. Mark, we appreciate you, brother. Go get some food. You guys have a wonderful day. Go kick some ass and go help somebody.